Wyoming State Senator Anthony Butchert, whatever his last name is, who's challenging Representative Liz Cheney, a Republican of Wyoming, for her House seat, acknowledged in an interview with Casper Star Tribune that he impregnated a 14-year-old girl when he was 18. Butchert first revealed the relationship in a Facebook Live video on Thursday, though he did not say exactly how old he or the girl was when the pregnancy happened. In that video, he said he wanted to come out with the story himself after learning that people had been looking into the matter. It's amazing that they look at things so negatively. So bottom line is, it's a story. When I was young, two teenagers, girl gets pregnant, Butchert said. You've heard those stories before. She was a little younger than me, so it's like the Romeo and Juliet story. A lot of pressure to abort a baby. I gotta tell you, I wasn't going to do it, and neither was she. And there was pressure to have her banished from their family. Just pressure to go hide somewhere. Butchert said that he eventually married the girl who, according to the Star Tribune, was 15 at the time of the marriage. At the time, both were living in Florida. In his Facebook video, Butchert explained that the only thing I could see as the right thing to do was to get married and take care of them. The couple divorced 3 years later. He said that his ex-wife had died of a suicide. At the time, he said she had problems in another relationship. This thing ended in a kind of a bitter divorce. All the odds were against us, he said. We later became friends. She had problems in another relationship. Her dad had committed suicide. For whatever reason, she decided to do the same. Butchert said that he decided to open up about the pregnancy and marriage after he found out that a political opposition research firm had begun looking into the matter. He also said he had been contacted by a UK media reporter whom he accused of working with the opposition research company. We know the company that started this investigation, he said. It's a political opposition research company. We know who they are. And then it turned into a UK media reporter who called me. But if you look at him, if he's all part of that whole investigation team that smears people. Butchert points to the apparent investigation into his personal history as a sign that he is the front runner in the race to unseat Cheney, a conservative stalwart who is facing trouble from within her own party for speaking out against former President Biden's claim of a stolen election. Let me go back to this because there was something he said I just thought was kind of funny. So bottom line is, it's a story. When I was young, two teenagers, girl gets pregnant. See, when someone says two teenagers, not this is how old I was, how old the other person was. That's his way of like trying to mask the fact. Because listen, the period between when someone is, I explained it. There's a big difference between, let's say, if he's, I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. A 4-year age difference between two people in their 20s or 30s or any other subsequent decade is not considered that big of a gap, but the period where someone is 18 and somebody's 14 is very large. Because if a person's 14, they're either usually in 8th or 9th grade, and if a person's 18, they're either a high school senior or a college freshman. So it's really funny that he tries to make it seem like, oh yeah, this is just a normal thing for a person who is old enough to be, who is an adult, to impregnate someone that is barely in high school. Yeah, that's this is just a thing that should not be looked at negatively, because any way you look at it, it should be embarrassing. Like, ignoring that this is that age gap, which again is very suspect. Having a child you can't afford with an underage mother is not a good thing. He could have been 14 too, and it would have been the same. The problem would have still existed. But people are trying to like say that this is a predator type story. I lean toward that too. And someone on Twitter was like, well, it's been 30 something year, whatever. And I guess there's a part of me that does. A lot of times people will say that when someone's 18, 19, that when you look at them in later parts of their lives, if they never repeated the same mistake again, that's that. But I don't know. It's just that gap. And it just seems really weird to me that he couldn't be with a woman that, or person that was his own age. But I don't think this is going to hurt his chances, because I mean, Roy Moore, won the primary and then just barely by the skin of his teeth was beaten by Jones in the general in Alabama after it came out that he had been, doing some been accused of some child predator type stuff too. Uh, Even though his stuff, you could make the argument was even more flimsy than this because in that case, you had women coming forward. They always love doing this 10, 20, 30 years later. And in the case of Butchered, whatever his last name is, you have a person who admits that they did this. So, if when the person is admitting, yeah, I banged a 14-year-old and knocked her up when I was 18, it's just, ugh. Because now the opposition team is like, hey, thanks for doing our job, buddy. Especially since the woman is no longer alive. That means we didn't have to, he didn't even have to worry about her coming out like, when I was 14, because, which is not, I do feel bad that she killed herself, but I don't know. These kind of things never happen with female candidates. You would never see some woman who's running for office have a scandal where when she was 18, she got pregnant by a 14-year-old. It's always some guy like creeping on some girl. Every time there's one of these age gap relationships, every instance where that stuff comes up. And it's funny that he tries to spin this. It's like, yeah, people are talking about when I acted like a nasty bastard with the underage girl when I was barely an adult, but still an adult. That this is proof that I'm the front runner in this race. It's sad too. It's like he actually still has a very good chance of winning this, not because he's some great candidate, but because this kind of stuff just doesn't really seem to matter. I mean, you look at what Green did, where she was over there dumbing up a Facebook post about assassinating politicians that she didn't like, and now she's a politician. So I believe he still has an excellent chance of winning, and that should be as disturbing as the fact that he, as an adult, banged a teenager.